Welcome back to the Bride Series. We are in the wedding photography, venue booking, and elopement segment. So I am here with the wonderful TAMUEL. She is the owner of Luxmore Grand Estates, and I'm just going to let her introduce herself, what she does, and go from there.
My name is TAMUEL COWART. I am one of the owners of Luxmore Grand Estate. I own it with my husband, Gregory COWART, as well as Thomas McCorney of Big City Catering. We also manage Cypress Grove Estate House, own RW Style, and RW Events. So with us, we're not necessarily a one-stop shop, but we do actually produce amazing events.
Awesome. So yeah, I didn't forget, but I forgot about Cypress because they're both like really, really good. So if you want to, if you feel like you need to switch up, like talk about that too, don't feel like you can.
Okay.
Guys, just real quick, Tammy, where can people find you? Like online?
Where can people? We advertise with the Knot. We're our social media footprint. We get a lot of brides there. We do a lot of bridal shows. We are big at promoting at bridal shows. Pretty much word of mouth. We have a good vendor network, and we also produce our own lookbook annually.
Yes, guys, and you have to see our lookbook. Like it's legit. It's real good. I was like, can I have one? All right, so I'm not gonna hold you up. I want to get into the questions because this is once again I mentioned to you guys I have some new categories this year. This was one that I really wanted to get on to the Bride Series because a lot of people ask questions about venues, and I think if they had a little bit more knowledge, they would kind of go into it more comfortably, or not ask certain questions that you're like, shouldn't you know that already? So
yes.
All right, so my first question to you is, and I think this is a really important one, how far in advance should a couple book a venue, and should there be other elements that they're considering, like what should they wait to book their venue before they get their wedding dress or their photographer, like things like that?
We always tell clients, once you fall in love with the venue and you know that that's your venue, book them. We don't hold dates. We can't hold dates. It's first come, first serve. So for us, we start booking out 18 months in advance. Our prime months like March, April, May, October, November, those dates go fast because everybody, of course, wants a Saturday. Like right now, what we're experiencing is engagement season and everybody wants fall of 2018. Those dates have been gone for about 6 months now. So it's difficult for us to give them those dates. And girls do get upset when they can't find the perfect venue. So the sooner, the better.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I tell people even photography wise, like some people book me like 12 to 14. And I had someone book me for December of 2017 and December of 2016. So
yes,
it happened. So that's practical. That's good. So with that being said, let's talk about like how should a couple, or maybe give like 3 pieces, 2 pieces, whatever you feel like, of advice on how a couple should budget for a venue, because I think people will go, especially your venue, like it's stunning. So I think people go to certain locations and they're like, oh, it's got to have this. And they don't think about like, well, how can I, reserve the venue and so forth. So what's your advice on that?
The biggest thing is talk to your parents, talk to whoever's helping you pay for the wedding, find out what your budget is. Be realistic with that budget as well. We have a lot of couples that'll come to us and say they're looking to spend $5,000 on food and beverage. That's very unrealistic when it comes to a wedding nowadays. Just be prepared, have a price per person, ask probing questions like, where do you start? Does it include service charge? What's your average bar package, etc.? What's included? Make sure you're probing and asking questions because that venue will definitely give you that information. We don't want to waste your time the same way we don't want you to waste our time, but be realistic.
That's good. And I like that you just honed in on the bar question. So is it normal for a venue to provide alcohol and bar service? Or what if someone has an outside? Like, how does that work?
Our facility does operate as a full service catering and event facility. So all food and beverage is purchased in-house. We do not allow any outside catering or bar services. You can bring in desserts because that's not our specialty, but anything else is offered in-house. The other thing about the bar that people have to understand, your guests do not appreciate a dry reception. Unless you're marrying a pastor or something along those lines, people expect alcohol. Your reception can end pretty early when you don't have alcohol, even if it's something as simple as just beer and wine.
Right.
A lot of people like a cocktail during dinner. Think about when you go out to eat with friends. So when you're socializing and that type of element, a bar is important. Don't ignore that aspect. Budget for that as well.
So liquor license, all of that is basically like covered because you guys provide it.
Absolutely.
Okay.
All of the liquor license, everything is covered directly through us.
Okay. So let me ask you something. What if a couple is coming from like New York, but they're getting married in Florida? How would they like reach out? Like, what's a good way to kind of like, because that would be a destination for them. Like, how would that work?
Yes, and we do host a lot of destination couples. They'll reach out to us via email. We do Skype appointments, FaceTime appointments. Some of them will fly in and see the venue directly. The good thing about us, when you book our facility, we do have an event manager that's assigned to you. So a lot of our clients, even if they're local, they probably see the venue the first time when they book it, then they come back for their tasting, and then not until wedding day. So all the communication now, it can be done via email, text message. It doesn't even matter to us, but we have a shared system, and it's easy to communicate with clients.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I get them a lot too. I had a bride from Scotland, and I just remember going, how'd you find me?
Yeah.
I mean, I was grateful, but you know, that's normal. Like people don't get married a lot in their own, location and state. So
yeah,
like that people are finding you, from all over. So let's talk about this lookbook because it's amazing. And honestly, and this is not exaggerating, like I have been to other venues and I have not seen a lookbook. Or if I have been to venues, not a lookbook like that's like a straight magazine, like seriously, like a good one.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. So my question for you is, do you use your lookbook to show couples like, hey, this is an idea, this is what our reception set up, like how can a couple look at a lookbook, say that twice, and gain some inspiration, but not feel like I have to do exactly what is in it, per se?
The lookbook was designed as 100% sales tool to invoke inspiration. Okay. So usually when we're sharing that lookbook with a couple, it depends on what they're looking for, because it does show our rentals, it shows Cypress Grove, it shows Luxmore, but it also shows other venues that we work with as a team as well. Okay. So primarily when we show them that lookbook, it's here's how this client set it up. We still want to know what your colors are, et cetera. We explain that when they walk into the venue, it's a blank slate. You can do whatever you'd like. Here's best case as to how it was used last time based on your guest count, band versus DJ, etc. We do allow couples to come in and make the space their own. The beauty of renting Luxmore, you can either do an 8-hour rental or a full day. We don't allow any other meetings or anything to go on when you have the facility rented. So the lookbook is pretty much just a guide. It's to inspire them. It's to show them like pretty weddings that have happened.
Okay. So guys, just a reminder, we are streaming through the internet. So if there is any lagging or delay, just hold tight. It will kind of pick up and you should be fine. So my question with that is, I have been seeing a lot of non-traditional ceremony setups. Like normally it's like the chairs on the side and you walk down the middle. How would you handle someone that says, hey, like when I did the Scottish wedding, they have some tradition where they make it like a circle and then they bind it off. So once the ceremony starts, you can't open it. So what do you do as a venue when people have like those kind of unique requests? How do you accommodate? How do you make it work on your location?
We probe. Asking a lot of questions is the best way to figure out what works best for the client. And then we also know our space. So we can explain to them, this is what works, this is what doesn't, etc. This is how it would look like. A lot of people will want a circular ceremony. It depends on how many chairs you're using. Sometimes it turns out great, sometimes not so much. Right. And then find out if they want a half round, if they want it completely circular. What are they looking for? So we do ask those questions and we probe a lot. And we also ask them to send pictures, and we'll share pictures of things that we've done in the past as well. Because we want to make sure on the day, like it's so funny, people will say, oh, well, I wanted to be set up this way. On the day of the wedding, they come, they're like, that's not what I had in mind. So that's why for us, visuals are something that we definitely rely on.
That's good, because one, you don't want to waste your time or theirs, especially on the day of a ceremony or wedding, I should say. you don't really have time. I mean, you probably will comment because I know you, but you don't have time to really like it like that.
We'll change it, trust me, because I don't want that bride upset.
That's
so
true.
for us, it's just like, if it's not right, let us know what we need to do. And I have guys on standby to run downstairs and change it around for them. It doesn't happen often, but some people they will change their mind. There's also backup plans. Florida with this weather, you may be planning for a ceremony outside, set up a certain way, and it works great outside. Right. Now you're moving that ceremony inside, and it may not work the same way. Maybe the arch that you were planning for does not fit inside the ballroom, etc. So you have to be able to quickly give them a new idea and explain that in a way where they're comfortable. Because the last thing you want to do is add stress. The weather is already stressful.
Yep. That's good. I didn't even think about that. Thank you for, I was like, you know what? We do have to transition sometimes because of, especially during but in that case, like, I know at Cypress Grove, you guys can do like a nice, beautiful tent setup. Like you have that option as well, right?
Yes, I would say at Cypress Grove, it is a gorgeous outdoor facility, but it's about 60-40. 60% of the clients don't get a tent, 40% have to get a tent. So as far as designing a tent, it's pretty much our specialty now. Because this last rainy season, I want to say last year, between July to October, we experienced rain at least one weekend day. And we try to explain to clients, like, you have to get a tent. Cypress Grove, the inside of the building, we only can fit 60 to 75 people comfortably, but the rooms are smaller, so they're broken up.
Right.
And you don't want your guests spread out in 3 different rooms, so the best thing to do is to get a tent.
Yeah, that's good. That's another good. See, guys, told you, I knew. So let's talk about, because that kind of would go like hurricanes, things like that. What is the requirement, or is it required for vendors to have insurance? And can you educate a little bit the couples on why this is important?
There's 2 different types of insurance that couples need to look at. First off, are your vendors insured? Your vendors should be insured. If they are running and operating a professional business, there's no reason for them not to have liability insurance. Most locations require it nowadays. Simply ask. If they do not have that insurance, check with your venue to see if it's okay. Some vendors, we don't mind if they don't have insurance, like an officiant, for instance. You're just coming on, you're performing a ceremony. Anybody, though, that's there for 8 hours a day, plugging into power, running around the facility, we do require you to have insurance.
Okay.
The same thing with event insurance. Couples should look at event insurance also because it protects them. It protects their deposits. It protects anything that could possibly happen. What if the venue goes out of business? What if their vendors go out of business? What if there's inclement weather or an act of God beyond their control? They need to be protected as well as the vendors need to be protected. So they should look at, and then event insurance for a couple only costs a couple $100. When you're spending $100,000 on a wedding, a couple $100 sounds like peanuts in theory. So I wouldn't risk my investment in my wedding to save $200. They should definitely look at event insurance.
Yeah, that's true. And like you said, I know one of the websites that you provided, and it's a legit site and reliable. So yeah, that's really, really good. So let's talk about, what if a venue doesn't have like everything you want, but it has some of you want, and you're like, man, I don't want to go somewhere else. How can a couple communicate that? And then what do you guys do to kind of make it work?
Well, it's funny because since we operate Cypress Grove and Luxmore, a lot of clients come in and if they'll come to Luxmore first, they're just like, oh, we just really wanted everything outside. Luxmore's appeal is the indoor ballroom.
Right.
So we'll refer them to Cypress Grove. And they said, well, the one thing I didn't like about Cypress Grove is that everything is outside. So sometimes we get confused. We're like, oh, so what are you looking for? And after a little bit of probing, we'll understand that it's the market lights that they're attracted to, or it's maybe a tent that they're attracted to, just trying to figure out what works best. But what we'll try to encourage is figure out what works best for your wedding, what's the flow, what's the look of your wedding. Because we have told clients that this particular venue may not be the best fit. Look at XYZ venue. We're honest. If it doesn't work, we'll tell them.
I'm the same way with photography. I'm like, you can't come, I don't believe that you should go like, just switching on with your photographer for a second, like to a photographer looking at another person's work and saying, well, I want that, when that's not their style. So it's very similar in booking a venue.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's really, really good. Okay, so um, let's go back to the budget question because I like the response that you gave for that as well. So, what if you're doing like now when it comes to like contractual things? If your parents are paying, but you're the couple that's getting married, and I hear this question so much from couples, like, okay, my parents are paying, but we're the
Yeah.
couple. Who signs what? Like, how does that work? And what if like day of mom and dad are like, you know, just joking guys, but like they're like, "Arr," and you're like, wait a minute, it's a couple that's getting married. How do you handle
That's a tough one. Usually we try to find out who's signing the contract. That's one of the questions that we'll ask. Who's financially responsible for the contract? Sometimes it's the couple, sometimes they'd rather mom or dad pay, but we do ask that question because whoever signed that contract, they're financially responsible.
that?
With the bride, most of the brides will sign our contract though, even though their parents are paying.
Okay.
Now, when it comes to expenses, we explain all the expenses up front. So if they're coming, you know, the venue rental fee, you know, the price for your menu, you know, the price for your bar, service charge, taxes, etc. So we will send them a contract with estimated cost. Now, those costs will only change if you change your menu, if you add people, if you subtract people, etc. But we're pretty transparent up front to explain those costs to them so they know what they're getting into.
Awesome. So day of coordination, is that similar to the whole like if vendors don't have insurance, like do you guys provide day of coordination or
RW Events no longer provides day of coordination. Now, as far as the venue is concerned with Luxmore, we do require you to hire at least a day of coordinator, primarily because on the venue side, we want to focus on what we're responsible for, which is your food service, setting up, striking, etc. So we do require you to have a planner to make sure that everything goes as you have planned. We don't have all the details about your photographer's timeline, what the DJ is responsible for, and even like setting up your wedding favors and stuff on the table. My staff has enough stuff to do that we don't want to take on those details. So we do require all of our clients to at least have a day of coordinator.
awesome. So what do you see as some misconceptions of couples and brides that book a venue?
I think some of the biggest misconceptions is cost, first of all.
Mm-hmm.
We touched on that previously, and also type of service. A lot of couples will ask for a heavy hors d'oeuvres menu or just serving hors d'oeuvres. When you're inviting someone to the wedding, a heavy hors d'oeuvres menu is not as inexpensive as you think because we're still having to prepare enough hors d'oeuvres to actually get people full. You don't want them to leave your wedding hungry. And you also can't ask people to stay, dance, entertain with you for 4 or 5 hours without providing a meal. You know, look at different options like maybe a brunch reception. With a brunch reception, you know, you're starting that wedding at around 10:30 in the morning, ending by 2 p.m.
Right.
But when you're just inviting people to come to an actual evening wedding, ceremony starting at 4:30 to 5:30, and then everything ending around 10 p.m., be prepared to serve them a meal. Buffets are not necessarily always less expensive than a plated. Although the service of a plated is better, but with a buffet, you're getting more sides, more entrees. Sometimes that price can be about the same.
That's good. I know I've worked with Big City Catering, which is who you said before, and I did a brunch wedding with them, and they had that on. It was on point. And I remember, like, it's so funny because most of my weddings are like midday to late, and I remember going, that smells really good. Like I was so, and they had the line, it was flowing perfectly. Everyone was served. Everyone was smiling. Nobody was, like you said, no one was complaining. Everyone was just, then they ate and then they started dancing. Before you knew it, everybody left. And you still had time in the day because it was early, it was an earlier wedding. So that's really, really good advice concerning that. So my last question would be, and I know you're probably going to be like partial because you work with so many vendors. How important do you think it is to really have like video? I've been asking this question a lot because it came up as the number one regret of last year for couples. And especially like with the way your venues are set up. What do you see from a venue perspective on the benefits of having a video?
Video is very important. It's still the biggest regret for couples. We personally did a party for my parents in this past November. We hired a professional photographer, but we did not hire a videographer. And even my dad was just like, why didn't we get video? Like, because you didn't want it at the time. So even for my personal events, I see that regret. But from a venue's perspective, it's good to show people how lively it is. You can show them in photos like, okay, look at the cake, look at the dance floor, look at this. But you can feel that energy when you show them a video. And I think that that part is something that a lot of couples should definitely look at, especially with now between Instagram stories, etc. Video is something that people is more willing to watch than actually paying attention to photos.
Yeah.
I get photos all the time. I click through them quickly, but if I watch a video, I can get lost in that moment.
Yeah.
So from a venue, it helps us sell. We do promo videos and stuff here, and we try to get wedding videos that have happened at the venue. And I noticed that the couples will sit there and watch that video before they flip through the album.
Yeah, no, it's true. And photos are, don't get us wrong, photos
They're
are
great,
really valuable. But I tell people, like, video really lets you relive it. And even like if I'm a couple coming to you, if I can look at a video, I don't necessarily have to have the same colors, but I could see how the day transpired. It will make me say like, oh, okay, this is workable.
Yeah.
Or like you ask the questions, okay, I like this part, but I want to do this with it. You know what I mean? Like it lets you visualize it. So I think that's really good. And just coming from a venue owner, like I wanted to hear like what your thoughts were on that, because I know the first thing people talk about is budget and why does video cost so much. And I'm like, there's so much more hours put into it, you know, compared to photography.
Well, it's funny too, because I think that with the couple, it depends on, because even when we were doing full planning, one of the things that we used to do is just give them a budget template and plug in average cost of photography, videography, etc. I think that if that's explained early on and they see the value of certain aspects of things, they're willing to pay for it. They're willing to budget it in. They're also going to be honest with you. And it's like, what's the least important thing? And sometimes they will say it's video, but sometimes they'll say floral. Sometimes they'll say, DJ. And I always explain, like, certain elements are very important. Like, to me, a good DJ, a good band can make or break a reception.
Yes.
After the wedding, you only have the video and the photos.
Yep.
So where can you cut? Honestly, people, it's one of those things. The biggest way to save money is the guests.
Yeah.
And it's, do you really need 240 people there?
Yeah. I've been hearing that. It's funny because at first I was just like, oh, someone else in the series had said the same thing in their segment. I was like, but when you think about it, kind of going back, give them the link to the video, or a lot of the times we can do a live stream now. So they didn't get, to be here physically, but they can come to the event via live stream, and it's just as good. And people are tuning into live streams. I do them all the time, and mine are from a behind the scenes aspect. So it's not even the polished final version, and people are like, oh my God. So yeah, that's good. We'll have to touch base, I guess, another time, or maybe I could do a blog feature with TAMUEL about like how to like politely cut your guest, or how to figure out like who should really.
But you got to think too. You're asking an introvert, so for me, I'm always going to say, cut some of the guests. Too many people.
That is true. I forgot. Yeah, she's like, nope, that's fine. Just cut it. No, that's true.
One of the things I also want to touch on is the vendor meals. That's one of the things that vendors always come to us about. As a venue, we provide up to 5 vendor meals complimentary for our clients. That way they don't have to worry about it. It'll feed the 2 photographers, 2 videographers, and the DJ on the day. Most couples don't think that that's important, which is why we've started including that as an incentive. So if you're booking at Luxmore Grand Estate or Cypress Grove, we feed up to 5 vendors complimentary. To us, it's advertising. Those vendors are gonna go out and talk about how great our food was, how the service was, etc. So we do make sure we take care of our vendors as well.
That is honestly, and the fact that it's complimentary, like that's really good, honestly, because I have been to a couple of weddings where we weren't fed, and I tell couples it's in my contract by a certain amount of time we do have to eat. It's the same way when you were talking about the guests being there all day.
Yeah.
You don't want your photographer, videographer, or DJ to be, sluggish because they haven't eaten.
Or to have to leave to go get something to eat. That's the other thing too. Yeah.
Exactly what I tell them. I said, no problem. We will leave. And think about it. We have to get there and come back. You don't want us to miss anything.
Mm-hmm.
And most vendors like to eat when the couple's eating. So that way, when you're done, we're ready to start shooting or whatever, whatever your vendor role is. So yes,
that is a challenge too, because we do have a lot of photographers and videographers that say, can we be served at the same time that the bride and groom is served? Before, we didn't take that part serious because it's just like, okay, we need to serve all these guests. They're invited guests before we serve you.
Yeah.
But in looking at the flow and being on the wedding planner side as well, we do understand the importance of that. So we try to make sure before you even come to us, like, the meals are in the room, they're good to go before we even serve the bride and groom. Because it's just as important to make sure that you're back downstairs in case something goes on during dinner, because a couple may get up and start walking around greeting everyone. Or there may be that moment where dad decides to stand up and do an impromptu speech. You never know what's going to happen. So we want you in the ballroom so that you don't miss it.
So last part of this, because this was a good one. Do you have like a preference? Like, because some people are like, okay, we'll just give them ham and cheese sandwiches. Like, do you think the vendor should have like,
Ooh.
yeah, I've heard it, seriously. I've seen other vendor friends post a picture of like literally like, what's wrong with this image? And it was like a sandwich in a plastic,
Only time we've provided sandwiches is if the band is requiring to eat like at 2, 3 o'clock and the reception doesn't start until 6 p.m. Because sometimes the band will get there early, do a sound check, etc. So by that time, we haven't finished cooking dinner for the wedding itself.
Right.
So we will provide like boxed lunches or something along those lines. But if it's an actual after dinner has been served or we're preparing dinner, absolutely not. We don't ask the couples what they want us to serve the vendors. We just automatically serve you what the guests are eating. That way the couples don't have to worry about. That's one less thing they have to stress about. Now, dietary concerns is something that we're experiencing a lot more between gluten-free, vegan, vegetarian. Those things we do probe a little bit more on to see if any of the vendors do have those dietary restrictions. And because it's the same vendors that are working at the venue, we kind of know who's going to come in and who's going to request a vegetarian meal. We kind of have them flagged in the system now. So we do prepare for that as well.
That's good. I'm so glad you honed in on that because I've seen it and like, look, what do you want? Like, ham and cheese and fries?
No.
Like, you don't want to be rude, but it's like, I'm not in pre-K. Like, you know what I mean?
Only time you get ham and cheese is if the couple is serving ham and cheese to everybody.
Right. Yeah, that's good. So Tam, yes, this was really good because vendor meals are important, and I really think it does change the vibe and the energy when you're hungry. Anyone who's hungry. So
the other thing too, though, I do want vendors to understand this aspect as well. Be respectful of the couple too.
Right.
We have had vendors make ridiculous requests, such as we had a vendor that requested filet, and whatever, but the couple was serving like a chicken dish. We can accommodate your request within reason, but don't put the burden on the couple.
Right.
Be respectful. Then if you know you're only going to be there for 3 hours, don't expect a vendor meal. If you're just playing like ceremony music and cocktail hour, and then you're leaving after cocktail hour, we won't have a vendor meal for you. Right. It's just everybody that's working at least 6+ hours that we tell the couples to consider providing the vendor meal for.
Yeah. No, it's true. I just literally shot a wedding last night. And my couple was like, we have a meal for you. We want, like, they were like, please, like, you're doing so good. Just go.
Yes.
And sometimes it's not like that. But me personally, I like to wait till the guests are served and then I go get my meal afterward. But they were like, please, like, we want you to eat now. Like, so I did. And it was good. So I appreciate it when we get the hearty vendor meals because it does give you a boost of energy. I mean, think about it. If I'm with you 8 hours, that means I was with you probably, depending on when your wedding starts, but usually early in the morning or like 11 or 12, whatever, till, 9, 10 o'clock at night. Anybody's hungry by then. So, yeah, totally.
That's true.
That was practical. So, Tammy, I know for sure you're a busy lady. You have 2 venues. I don't want to hold you up anymore. This was more than valuable, and I'm really excited. I know people are going to get a lot from it. If there's anything else you'd like to add, the floor is yours.
You can find us at luxmoregrand.com. It has all of our social media information, contact information, etc. Feel free to send me an email if you have any questions about the venue. It's hello@rwevents.com.
Awesome. So Samuel, this has been great. Was like super excited to have you on, like no lies. So I'm like, yay, glad we got. All right, guys. So I will see you in the next segment. But until then, you can check out some of the extra blog features that we have. And you can also submit a question online. If you had any venue questions, send them and I'll get them to Tamuel and see if we can get her expert advice. Until the next segment.
Thank you.
Bye.